Brave Maker Show is hosted by Tony Gapastione. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Hey everybody, it's showtime. Episode 240. 240, that means I'm 9? How does that work? Something episodes away from episode 250, and our 250th episode will be recorded live at the Brave Maker Film Festival, which tickets are on sale for the Brave Maker Film Festival, as well as our 250th podcast episode. We're going to do it live with all of our filmmakers and special guests. Hey, I'm Tony Gapastione. I am a Caucasian guy wearing yellow glasses, brown hair, black shirt that says "You are the story" in my Brave Maker studio. That's pink and green faux and a striped wall to my right. And I'm an actor. I'm a filmmaker. I am all things creative, founder of Brave Maker, and I love to be able to talk to you all live and on a replay, audio, podcast, all the things about filmmaking, acting, screenwriting, all things creative and brave making. Today, I'm solo for this episode to talk a little bit about saying no. How do you know when to say no? When someone asks you to be on their project, when someone asks you to do something creative, when someone asks you for your time in some way. And I've been thinking a lot about this because May has been one of the busiest months I have had in a long time. In fact, I just wrapped a short film producing less than 2 hours ago. I was on set. It has been a wild month. I go to LA in a week, and I'm just kind of thinking to myself, reflecting, I have said yes to a lot of things. And I say yes because I love them. I say yes because it's my job. I say yes sometimes because I need to make money. But not everything is equal, right? So I've kind of come up with a list, and I am going to kind of work it out with you all live and on this podcast recording. So if you are somebody who's listening, either live or on the replay, I'd love to get feedback from you, from what you hear me talk about today. So I've got kind of 5 things that help me determine and might help you determine if you should say yes to a project or not. So number 1, when someone says, do you want to act in my film? Do you want to produce? Do you want to production design? Do you want a PA? You have a couple of things you got to figure out, and in no particular order. My first question is, do you want to do the project? Like, do you have a genuine desire? You might divide that out by saying, do I need to do it, for reasons I'll say later in the show about, compensation or advancing career, but do you want to do it? I love when people emphasize that if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. But I think there's some gray area there. Sometimes, again, based on these 5 things I'm going to share today, if you were to rate them or grade them with points, you might see like sometimes certain elements are going to trump other elements. So genuine desire, I think, is a big thing. Do you want to do the project? Then do it, right? Of course, you have to count the cost in your schedule and other things, but that's a really good gauge. First of all, do you want to do it? Second is the time thing, schedule. Does it work for your schedule? Can you fit it in? Are you balancing too many things? I know for my time, I have a calendar that is pretty full. I work 3, sometimes 4 jobs, consulting, doing social media for my church, for Brave Maker. I do a lot of freelance stuff. So balancing, and then that's not even to mention carpooling with my kids and being present for my family, my wife, and myself, self-care. Time is a really important question to determine if you should take on a project. Do you have the time realistically to do it? And if you don't, that might be a no. If you look at your schedule and go, I just have nowhere to squeeze this in, or I'm not going to feel good if I say yes to this because I know I'm going to be burnt out and I won't be good to myself or to my fellow collaborators. So what does your time look like? I also think that you owe it to yourself and to your fellow collaborators to be honest. If it is a busy season, but you really want to do it, you might say, you know what, this is a busy season, but I really want to do it. And I could make the time. I just want to be transparent with you. I might have to leave early or I might have to show up late. And in this recent project I just was on, I had a blast with Shauna Khorasani and her project 3 Wishes. But I had to be transparent. Like, I have to drop my kids off. I can't make 7 a.m. call times. I'm producing, so I'm not acting. It's not like you need me there right away. And it worked out great. And I was able to do a lot of remote producing things. So be transparent regarding your time and be honest with yourself, because we often cheat ourselves and burn the candle at both ends. That's what my family used to say, because I would often do that as a teenager, like saying yes to a lot of things. So just be honest to yourself and to your collaborators. Is it realistic for you to do it? Number 3, compensation. Ooh, in the indie world, we're used to doing a lot of things for free. I still do things for free. I still show up to help out my friends. That goes back to number 2 with the time. Is somebody asking for 1 day of my time or a week of my time or a month of my time, right? Can I balance it in? I am currently working on an 8-video project that has been a commissioned freelance producing and directing deal for me since about February, and it took a lot of time, and I had to fit that into my schedule. But the compensation was such that I was able to compensate myself as well as hire freelance crew to do these projects, and that felt really great to be able to look at the compensation. Although I tried to get more compensation, and they really had pitched below what I wanted. I said no at first, and they came back with more. So don't be afraid to ask for compensation. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need, and also to negotiate. But as you're trying to figure out, should you say yes to a project, the third thing, compensation, is a real deal. I need to pay my rent. I need to help save money to send my kids to school. I'm a late 40 something person who's getting up in age, and I have to start thinking about my future. I can't say yes to a lot of the volunteer things anymore, although I still do. Again, number 1, if my desire is really high because I really want to do it. So these are factors you really need to consider. Talent is number 4. Are you good at what they're asking you to do? Let's be honest. Sometimes are asked to do things that we're not great at. I I learned on this last gig that the paperwork side of things, and I always know, is not my strong suit. So when I get hired to be a producer, I'm a creative producer. I'm shepherding that project. I'm shepherding the director. The paperwork stuff does not come natural to me. I have to make myself do it. I have learned to do it, but I don't like to do it. And I think that question of, am I good at this, is very humbling at times, because we think as indie filmmakers or artists, I'm speaking from that vantage point, we can do everything, and we really can't. We shouldn't do everything that we're not good at. Maybe you can learn along the way. You want to try a certain role so you can learn. But be honest. If someone asks you to do something that you're not qualified to do, like if you're not a gaffer, that means the person who lights film sets, but someone asks you to gaff, like I've had to gaff my own film sets. Be honest, like I have a bunch of nice lights. Somebody donated really quality lights to Bravemaker that I can bring and use, but I don't really know professionally how to use them. I can figure it out along the way, and that's going to take some time in the schedule on production. So just be transparent with that, what you are good at. And I would say also advocate when someone says, do you want to do something? You might say, I'm really good at this job. Do you have that job available? Because for me, I want to write, I want to direct, I want to produce and act, of course. But I often have to do, script supervising, or I have to do production assisting. I've done craft services before. It's not my favorite thing, but in these small indie spaces, sometimes we have to do multiple things. But again, evaluate these things: your desire, your time, your compensation, your talent. Are you good at these things? And see if one of them seems to be bumping, the other out. Yeah, maybe it pays really good and you have the time, but you're not great at something, but they're willing to take a chance on you. That's great. So all of these factors, I think, are really important. And the fifth thing I would say is the people you're working with. Are these people that can advance your career? Are these future collaborators? Are these people that you see yourself partnering in some way in the future? Because that's a factor to consider as well. So maybe they're not compensating you well, but can they be somebody you see a future with? Well, sometimes I'll do a job because of that advancement. Now, that's something that sometimes we can be taken advantage of, because people will say, I'll give you, your credit in my movie and it's going to be great on your resume, but I can't pay you. Sometimes that is okay because it's a good deal. But then other times it's not. Like, well, if it's just, a student film, for me, I'll say it's not going to advance my career to do a student film, but I might look at my desire to help somebody or the time that I have available, and that might make me lean into it. But number 5, with the people and the advancement, I think that's something that we all have to evaluate realistically, because the relationships in this business and industry are crucial and very important. And we are a relational business that word of mouth sometimes is like someone just asked me this last week. How do you get your jobs, Tony? A lot of my jobs come from word of mouth and people asking me over and over because I've worked with them before and because they want to work with me. And that is a great reputation to build. So again, that number 5 thing about the people you are going to work with, the reputation you're building, could be very influential in helping you to advance your career. So those are the 5 things I would say that help you determine if you should say no to a project. And let me say this, I think we should say no to projects. I've had to turn down projects because of one of those factors, because of time, because of compensation. And sometimes I've had to say no because the people that maybe have asked me, I go, I don't think it'd be a good fit for me to work with them, and probably them, me in them, right? I'm probably not a good fit for some people, and that's okay to evaluate. Now, I want to give an example. I was on a set a couple weeks ago, and I was doing some assistant directing, something I don't normally do, but I did it because I wanted to work with the people, and it paid really well, and I saw it to be a great advancement for my career to get some experience. I had the time, all that kind of stuff. And on set, one of our actors was having some car trouble and could not make it to set. So part of my job, first of all, I heard the director was trying to do it. I said, "Hey, I'm assisting here. Let me take that off your plate and make that problem go away or solve that problem," right? And so I was asking around the set if anybody lived near where this actor was going to be coming from the next day, which happened to be in Oakland, the East Bay. We were filming in Redwood City. It's about a 45-minute drive. And out of a 30-some crew, only 2 people lived in Oakland. So I came down to those 2 people. And one of them was our production designer. And I'm going to call her out in a good way because she did an amazing thing. Her name was Melanie. And I said, "Oh, Melanie, you live in Oakland. Do you think you could pick up our actor tomorrow before you come to set?" Which is call time was 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. It was fairly early. And I could see her face kind of change, and she's kind of brainstorming and thinking, trying to solve problems and moving all the gears in her head. She said, "Well, I have to bring a bike, to set tomorrow, and I have all of the crates for the props and the scene that we're doing later at the house." And I could just see, like, in her mind, she's like, "It's probably not going to work." She's like evaluating, like, does she have the time to do it? Does she have the desire to do it? She's not getting compensated. I can see her running through this in some way. And I just immediately stopped and wanted to give her and I did not wanted. I did. I gave her permission, like, "Hey, you can say no. You totally can say no here because this is not your job." And she looked at me and was like, "Yeah, I got to say no." But she looked at me kind of like, "I'm sorry." And yeah, there are times when people are going to ask us to do something that we totally could do feasibly. We could. But sometimes we bend over backward and we allow people to take our time that we don't want to give, and that's not okay. We have to get better at saying no. Ultimately, we found a way to get this actor to set, and it worked out great because one of the producers happened to be going back and he said he would do it. So that's a shout out to Josh Rickard. I'm thinking of you. uh, I think this is a hard thing that I am still learning, because I want to help as many people as possible, and sometimes I'll say yes to my own detriment. I'll say yes to my own family's detriment. We have to learn how to prioritize. So this goes back to, these 5 elements: desire, time, compensation, talent, and the people you're working with to build your reputation and advance your career. You are ultimately in control of that. I am ultimately in control of what I say yes to, and we get to give ourselves permission to say no. And I think when we also ask people, we should be thinking about that too. Are we finding the right fit? Are we casting the right people? Are we hiring the right people? Uh, this isn't kind of in the saying no category, but on the crew side, when I'm producing, something I want to get better at too, I usually, again, I hire people that I know. I work with people that I've had relationships with. When I don't have a relationship with someone that I need, like for instance, I'm trying to hire an assistant director for a project, and all the ones I usually work with don't or are not are able. They can't come. They're not available. Well, I could easily get probably 10 recommendations and just go, great, I'll take that one. But I need to do the due diligence to interview them, talk with them. And what I want to do for the future is also get letters of recommendation from people to see if I'm saying yes to this person is a good idea based on what they have done in the past. So I think that's all I have for this episode today, episode 240. It's just been on my mind a lot for me to empower myself. I am at a place where, being totally transparent, I am a little nervous about the future of our industry. I'm finding jobs lacking, as many of you are too. We're seeing writers and actors, many out of work. And that's a small percent of people who have had those jobs on a regular basis are out of work. The Screen Actors Guild has over 100 and I think 30,000 people, and 85% of them don't even make enough to get insurance, which is 25 or 26,000 a year. The strikes with the Writers Guild did so much advocating for writers, but there's less shows that are hiring, less pilots going to series. There are so many things happening that seem, again, look at the box office reports too, that seem a little alarming. So we might feel like, I'll speak for myself, I feel like I have to say yes to so many things because I never know when the next job is going to come. We're seeing our sponsorships go down for Brave Maker, our festival. We lost $50,000 in 2 years because of budget cuts, supposedly from our corporate sponsors. And it's scary. But that doesn't mean we need to say yes to everything, because our mental health, our physical health needs to be our priority. You're worth it. We're worth it. And that's what Brave Stories are all about. I hope this was helpful. If you have any thoughts or ideas that you want to share with me, I'll probably put this into a blog as well. Please check out our new and improved website at bravemaker.com. I'm really happy with what's happening there. And you'll see all the information about our Brave Maker Film Fest, which is coming up July 11th through the 14th. And this is huge because we have just selected all of our films. I think we have like 80 films. There's a ton of short films. I think we have like 10 or 12 feature films, and I should get those exact numbers. But we have a ton of great filmmakers coming, super special VIP guests, new impact honors that we are delivering on opening night, July 11th. A Sundance multi-award winning documentary film called Daughters screening in the Fox Theater. It's happening. Bravemaker.com. Go to the Film Fest tab and you'll see the schedule. You can buy tickets right now. And I'll tell you what, things are going to sell out. Partly because our capacity is kind of challenging. There's only 125 seats in our largest theater in the Cinemark, but we have like 500 seats available in the Fox Theater opening night. We have some free events. We have an entertainment industry panel. We have some improv acting workshops for actors, intimacy coordinating discussions, so many cool things. And over the next few weeks, you're going to be meeting a lot of our filmmakers. So I really cannot wait for you to meet all of the filmmakers and get to know some of these VIPs who are coming. I really, really appreciate it. I see Olga, who is one of our fiscal sponsee filmmakers. She's a writer and producer I've got to work with. Was it the beginning of May? Yes. Olga's film was one of the ones I did in May, I believe. Oh my gosh. Olga says, health is another factor to consider. Sometimes we say yes, and then natural causes of events get in the way. Thank you, Tony, for always promoting self-care. Thank you, Olga. Yeah, that's a good point. So you're adding maybe, do I have the physical capability to do so? I like that. A number 6 factor to consider, physical capability, because I might be asked to do something like production assistant where I'm lugging tables around and then I, break my back, crack my back or whatever. I shouldn't be doing that. That's a really great point. I'm going to add that in the blog. Boom, boom, boom. Number 6, physical capabilities. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Amy Cohen, who jumped on to produce and live quote today. Amy, I really appreciate Amy out of Austin, Texas, and Jessica Cohen, who does our internship, and she edits amazingly these clips for our videos. I really, really appreciate it. And Carrie Alley, who's our social media manager out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Barnell Amos, who's our podcast editor. Thank you for editing and chopping all this stuff up. So episodes 241 to 249 are coming every Thursday. Please join in and meet people. And I'm going to be doing a few on alternate days because I get to, as I build to the 250th episode. That's all at bravemaker.com if you want to buy your tickets to our live episode on July 11th. Okay, thank you so much for listening, everybody. Brave stories change the world, as we say, and you are the story. See you later, everybody.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.